from scratch, product companies and tier 2 to 3 cities, a promising future. Yes, we are talking a lot about tier 2 to 3 cities, and now we are going to talk about product companies. And yes, so we explore the transformative potential as product companies pave way in emerging cities like Kozhikode, of course. Our discussion will shed light on the promise and possibilities that arise when innovation meets local landscapes. So let me welcome, this is a very special person because yes, his name is Mr. Mohammed Anzy. He is currently the Managing Director of Guidewire. He was formerly associated with SAP, and what is interesting is he's done his education from NIT Calicut and IIM Kozhikode, so he's from the soil of Kozhikode itself. He is an experienced tech leader with a passion for startups and innovation. He holds degrees in computer science and management. He is known for driving growth and strategy at top tech firms like Guidewire, where he is currently, and SAP, where he was earlier, and is actively involved in industry forums and advocacy groups. So ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together and welcome Mr. Mohammed Anzy, the Managing Director of Guidewire, for the next session.
Thank you. Again, it's great to be back in Calicut. I always say that Calicut is my second home because I literally spend a significant amount of my time here. And for me, again, coming back to Calicut reminds me of those days where I spent my time at NIT Calicut and IIM. And that's a journey. I think those 5-6 years at Calicut really shaped the way I think, the way I look at things. Huge amount of learnings. We all talk about leadership. I think we have learned a lot of lessons from the auto drivers in Calicut, the kind of empathy that they have, the kind of passion that they have. I think it has really left a huge mark on each one of us who graduated from NIT Calicut. For me, I would say I've been with the IT industry for the last 18 years. Out of that, I would say little more than 17 years I spent with one single organization, which is called SAP. And we were at SAP, we had multiple options, multiple things that we could do. And we were really looking at kind of scaling enterprises and also helping the enterprises with digital adoption, helping the organization to really unlock the true value that they can get out of digital. Something which is very unique, which we have done at SAP, is also the fact that I had the opportunity to build the first in-house startup program, which is called the SAP Startup Studio. And over the last 6 years, we kind of curated 66 different startups who are working in the B2B space, and also helped to raise capital, close to 250 million in capital across this 66 organization. And again, interestingly, out of the program, there are 2 unicorns also got created, which means that $1 billion in valuation. I think that really shaped up in terms of my perspective towards startups, and also giving that humility and the kind of drive that to really to go beyond and do stuff. Post that, I kind of moved out and then started a very different role as a managing director of Guidewire. I'm sure that many of you do not know about Guidewire, but if you really look at the insurance industry, right, there are very less number of companies who operate out of the globe, and Guidewire is one of those organizations. I think whatever risk and the different underwriting that you see across the globe, right, almost 90% of it, it's managed by the Guidewire platform, and that's the impact that Guidewire creates. Very interestingly, we are building a huge development center in India. We have development centers in Bangalore, we have development center in Chennai. We have close to 350 people across both the development centers, but we are on a growth path. That's something that we are really looking at. So primarily, if I really look at my kind of journey, it is primarily looking at from SAP being a very horizontal SaaS organization to Guidewire, which is one of the very few vertical SaaS companies in the market. And that's a very, very huge shift. I think that's one of the topics that I really would like to connect with each one of you, because there is fundamentally a huge difference in operating in a horizontal SaaS versus a vertical SaaS product when you are actually building from any place in the world. For me, one of the big disruption or realization, just like many organizations, came during the COVID time, where I was in charge of managing close to 17,000 employees across 5 different locations. Overnight, we had to really switch from just 5 pin codes. I had to literally manage 340 pin codes across India, delivering laptops, supporting each of the employees, and again, helping them in whichever way we could actually do it, right? I think that was a huge realization. Just like me, many of the large organizations had this realization in driving growth and employees' experience, right? I think this really shaped up, or I would say this is one of the inflection points where the value that we can unlock from tier 2 and tier 3 cities actually came. Definitely, I do understand that there are many organizations, MNCs, who have built their development centers in tier 2 and tier 3 cities before the COVID. But I would say that the entire process got little accelerated post the COVID. And there are reasons. And these are some of the reasons that we have felt from our organization's point of view. During the COVID time, we really felt that there is a big digital infrastructure which is available across India, right? I think people were initially skeptical about moving and working out of a tier 2 and tier 3 cities, but COVID has proved us that the remote working at the same time, working out of tier 2 and tier 3 cities could actually happen. The second big realization is, for organization, it's actually a huge cost saving and also the talent advantage. Because if you really look at, I come from Bangalore, we have a huge challenge with respect to the cost at the same time the talent which is available in the market. But the moment you step outside Bangalore and kind of explore the different tier 2 and tier 3 cities, you see there is a huge potential out there and huge talent base which is out there where companies can kind of tap into and really create value for our customers. The third topic which I have found very unique especially in the cities in Kerala, right? Especially Calicut, Cochin and Trivandrum, right? There is a huge setup of communities of practice, be it Kubernetes, be it Linux, be it free software foundations, be it around product management. There are a lot of communities of practice where you kind of learn from each other and build on that experiential learning, right? I think this is very, very unique for Kerala, and it's also I have seen in some places in Tamil Nadu, but again, very, very unique for the multiple cities in Kerala. I think these communities of practice actually fuels a large amount of opportunities for the companies, large companies, to set up operations in India. And again, I don't have to sell this story better. I come from Bangalore, but the traffic is very, very bad. If I had to really work, so I had to get up early in the morning, start my journey at 7 in the morning to reach the office in 30-40 minutes. Otherwise, it would take 2 hours. If you really move to the tier 2 and tier 3 cities, you will see that the traffic is lesser, the quality of life is improved. I think fundamentally these are many of the things that we have seen across the spectrum in terms of the people who are operating out of tier 2 and tier 3 cities, where there is a huge, huge change in terms of the engagement and in terms of the retention, in terms of the upskilling. I think that's something that which is very, very unique that you would see from tier 2 and tier 3 cities. But again, from my perspective, I think the COVID or the inflection point was really unlocking the true India story, right? I mean, again, if you really look at these numbers, right? Tier 2 and tier 3 cities, almost 40% of the growth is actually happening in these economies, right? And it's a huge, which means that there are 40% more opportunities which are getting created, more businesses are getting created, right? I think that's a huge potential that each one of us can really tap into. And just forget about the economic growth, the number of startups, this is as per the government reports, almost 50% of the startups which are getting created are coming from the tier 2 and tier 3 cities. We have great examples of startups which are turned to unicorns and much bigger companies like the Sohos of the world. So, but again, this is a huge, huge opportunity that we are seeing in terms of the true India story. And again, the number of people who are online, digitally connected, consuming the data, and again being part of the larger digital economy, right? That's again significant. Almost 50% of the online shoppers are located out of tier 2 and tier 3 cities. And last note but the least, the GDP, right? It is almost 45% of the GDP is coming out of tier 2 and tier 3 cities. I think these are promising numbers. I don't have to sell it again. I think the speakers before me and after me will definitely talk about it. But the huge, something that we definitely need to understand is the potential which is available there and how each one of us can capitalize on these options, right? If you really look at this, again, I come from a GCC point of view, but again, if you really look at the numbers, right, almost 10% of the global capability centers or development centers across India, right, are based on tier 2 and tier 3 cities. But if you really deep dive on these numbers, you see a very different correlation. Wherever the development centers are located, you will see a huge talent overlay. Talent overlay, when I say talent overlay, it's a huge number of educational institutes, communities of practice, incubators, accelerators, and entire ecosystem available in these places, right? I think that's a huge thing that definitely as Calicut, as the cities for growth, right? We really need to focus on really driving that talent value, creating those talent pipelines so that the companies can come here, right? Again, if you really look at it, COVID has really taught us that you can literally build a SaaS company from anywhere, right? You don't have any restrictions whether you have to be in a metro or somewhere else. You can actually build a SaaS company from any place in the world. And with the talent which is available, there is a huge opportunity for us to really look at and how we can scale this across tier 2 and tier 3 cities. And one of the things that we really talk about when it comes to startups and founders and things around that, right? We all talk about the funding window in terms of the amount of capital infused into the economy has significantly come down. But if you really closely look at these numbers, there are different signals which are coming out of it, right? For sure, the total funding or the capital infused into the Indian ecosystem has come down by 25%. But something which is very unique is out of the funding for unique startups, right, it has gone up by 18%. So traditionally, previously, what used to happen is that you have the unicorns, you have the soonicorns which are coming. A significant amount of the capital will go into these startups, right? Now the situation is completely changed. There is a huge diversity coming out, right? And that diversity is really great for all of us. All of us means all the companies, all the talent which is available in tier 2 and tier 3 cities. So if you really look at the numbers, almost 1,400 unique startups were funded in 2021 alone. And this is an incremental of 18% higher than 2021, which is a huge number. And 66, which means that 2/3 of all the investment funding which has gone into the system are outside the unicorns. So which is also a promising thing. And that's exactly what I'm going to talk about in the next slide. If you really look at the chart, you would definitely see that over the last several years, there is a significant shift in terms of sectors or diversification of investment happening across industries. Previously, there were very focused industries. You have the edtech, you have the food tech, you have some of the logistics, you have the travel sectors. I think the fundings were really concentrated on these sectors. But in the last 2 years, you are seeing a significant shift in terms of the diversification, be it on the health tech or automotive and different other manufacturing industry 4.0. You are seeing huge opportunities out there, and definitely this gives each one of us an opportunity to kind of innovate, create the vertical SaaS. You don't need to really go into a horizontal SaaS, but really create very fine-tuned SaaS offerings for the vertical domains that you are working on. I think that's, and second dimension which we really like is also the number of tech startups, right, incubated out of emerging economies or emerging hubs. This has actually gone up by 39%, or 39% of the total tech startups are curated out of tier 2 and tier 3 cities, which is very, very huge. I mean, if you look at the trend, right, you can build the next Postman, you can build the next the cloud platform out of a tier 2 cities. There are no blockers. I think that's the beauty of especially the post-COVID realization, right? The numbers are going up. The importance of tier 2 and tier 3 cities to build capabilities, build vertical SaaS, build tech startups have significantly gone up. These are almost a 2.4x growth in terms of the deals which are happening, in terms of funding which is happening for the tech startups in the tier 2 and tier 3 cities. And again, as I mentioned, if you really look at all the tech startups over the last several years, almost 28% of the tech startups are based out of tier 2 and tier 3 cities. I think this opens up a huge, huge opportunity. You don't need to be, because diversification is happening. There's a huge amount of funding which is happening to emerging technology startups. There is a huge funding which is happening to the industries or vertical SaaS products which are being built out of tier 2 and tier 3 cities. And also the ecosystem is also evolving, right? I mean, if you really look at the number of open innovation programs which are out there, we have in India, we have close to 85 to 90 different open innovation programs out there. And significant number of open innovation programs are accessible from tier 2 and tier 3 cities. I think it's a huge opportunity. We are really at an inflection point to really rethink the way we do business, build software. I think that's an opportunity that each one of us could kind of literally leverage and move forward. Again, for me, to keep it very simple, these numbers speak volume, and it's a huge, huge opportunity for each one of us. And I am a firm believer that value creates value, because you definitely need to make sure that there is a significant value which comes out of any product that you build. And over the last several years, working with the startups, creating opportunities for incubation and acceleration, I have learned one thing, because many of the startups initially comes with a very huge focus on very specific market, but somehow they kind of lose sight on the larger picture, right? In India, if you are actually building a software, building a product, you need to build for scale. That's extremely, extremely important. Definitely, you can focus on very specific market. You can really focus on a vertical SaaS, but build for scale. Getting from 100 users to 1,000 users could be easy, but from 1,000 users to 1 billion users or 1 million users, it's going to be very, very tricky, and your software stack and the system should be able to support that. So always keep that mind of scale in everything that you do, because that's how you can really get economies of value when you're building a vertical SaaS product. The second thing which most of us who are building startups and building SaaS products kind of fell into is a clear fact that we would really like to build the entire value chain ourselves, right? I think we should not do that. I mean, we don't have to build everything. Really work on the core competency that each one of us carry, and then primarily look at what are the complementary offerings which are out there in the market and leverage them. I mean, again, there are, as I mentioned, there are many open innovation programs out there by some of the large tech companies. Consume some of the APIs which are there. You don't have to actually build a tax API. You don't have to actually build a procurement API. You don't have to really build a full stack e-commerce API. Leverage from the open market. Really focus on what you are really good at it. Maybe you have a huge industry knowledge, build on that, and then kind of leverage that to deliver value to your customer. That's extremely, extremely important. The second thing, as I mentioned, there is a huge ecosystem at play. I'm not sure how many of you are part of Head Start. Head Start is a large organization, non-voluntary organization who promotes entrepreneurship and again, help you kind of scale. They have close to 100, they have presence in close to 100 cities across India. They have chapters in Calicut, Cochin and Trivandrum. I think be part of it, and you will see a huge, significant shift in terms of your thinking, your perspectives, and the support that you could get from the industry. I think that's extremely, extremely important. The last and final point from my side is the fact that you don't have to actually build for a global customer, right? In India, if you really look at it, tier 2 and tier 3 cities have close to 32 million SMEs. It's a huge market size, right? As I mentioned about the diversification, the opportunities to build vertical SaaS, there is a huge opportunity for each one of you to build something which is very unique, catering to the SMEs in specific industries. I think that should be the focus. We don't have to be the next e-commerce platform. We don't have to be the next logistics platform. We could be something which is very unique for the industries out here. There is a huge market which is out there in tier 2 and tier 3 cities, and we should be able to create some kind of a momentum in terms of digital adoption for these SMEs to be part of that larger digital transformation, and then we can actually help these organizations to leverage the full potential. I think that's extremely important. Again, just to summarize, value creates value. Kind of really look at what are the core value creation activities that you could do from an industry perspective, whether there is an opportunity for a vertical SaaS. Then the second thing, build for scale. Every software that you build, you should have a clear focus on scale. The third topic is primarily partnership. Wherever partnerships are available, kind of look at it. You don't have to build the entire full stack. Partner with some of the companies which are out there, create complementary skills and kind of offer it. The last topic is that you have a market here. You don't have to search for a larger market, right? I mean, you have almost 32 million SMEs out there. There are huge opportunities. These SMEs need to be part of the larger digital transformation, and that's a huge, huge growth opportunity which is out there. So I'll just pause it here, and if you have any questions, comments or anything, happy to take it up.
Yes, I believe we have our frequent question over there.
Sir, from three-tier cities, a lot of startups are coming, as you said. But what about its momentum, keeping the momentum? Because geopolitical conditions like the Palestinian-Israel war and the Russian-Ukraine war makes the market volatile. So technological volatility is also there. Disrupting technology is also emerging. So how a unicorn could be, how we can assure that a unicorn could be unicorn suddenly? How can we be certain about a unicorn transforming to a unicorn in a volatile situation, in a volatile market scenario?
I couldn't get the question correctly, but what I could understand, how do you create unicorns in a volatile environment, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. So I think the whole notion about unicorns, I think that we kind of should deconstruct, right? I mean, there are companies with just a couple of slides raising hundreds of millions of amount without even having a market opportunity or a real product out there, right? So I think what slowly the industry is also realizing is the kind of impact and creating sustainable businesses. I think that should be the core of everything that we do, right? I'm of the firm believer that if you have a great product, the VCs will find and fund you. There is no other escape, right? They will come back to you, or they will come behind you and then do that. The second aspect is that there is a huge race towards artificial intelligence and the different skills, right? I have personally gone through this journey, and while it completely looks good on many of the PowerPoints, right? Some of the core businesses, right? The kind of utilization that these technologies could do is still very limited, right? I mean, for sure there are industries, especially the support systems and automated networks, where there is a huge leverage, but there are industries where they are still in the initial stages. The first step towards the digital transformation is still not happened, right? There you will not be able to include or infuse digital critical technologies like artificial intelligence, machine learning, but the first step itself is to build and take them towards a digital platform, right? I think that's missing. There are many industries, especially the industry that I come from, the insurance sector, right? It's a very mature industry. The insurance as a practice been there for centuries, right? And people are risk averse, but they don't want to risk their operations with the new digital technologies, right? So some of the industries are very, very matured, right? I think it takes a time. Just like I always talk about the Boeing 747, which got launched in 1970s, and it got phased out in 2021. So when the initial flight was done, it had close to 400K lines of code, but when the last version, which is the Boeing 747-800, which got phased out, it had close to 2.3 million lines of code. And if you really look at the stack, the solution which initially it had, the 400K lines of code versus the 2.3 million lines of code, are completely different. So there are situations where, as an organization, as a provider, as a software product, we can revolutionize the entire industry, but very slowly. Some of the industries are very matured enough, so they will not be able to consume all the changes at single point of time. So again, to be very short, I think the technologies will keep coming. There are things which would happen in the market, but as engineers, as people who would really like to create products, our obsession should be with the problem statement, not with the solutions, right? We should really understand what's the problem. There are different ways of addressing and solving that problem, right? We should not get obsessed with that solution model. So the same way, we should not get obsessed with a certain technologies, right? Just to use a large language model, I should not rewrite the entire problem, right? I think that's where it's extremely important. And as I mentioned, right, funding is just one part of it. Personally, I don't believe in the unicorn stories, but you should kind of reflect on what's the impact that we can create. I mean, one example is the Soho story, right? They are making close to 1.2 billion in revenues, and with almost a 25% profit margin sitting out of India, right? And you don't have to look anywhere out to learn and get inspired. There are beautiful stories coming, and Soho is operating out of tier 2, tier 3 towns in India, right? So there are possibilities, there are opportunities, there are industries which are available, there are markets which are available. You don't have to really scout and kind of replicate some model which is successful in the US or other geographies here. It has to be very customized, it has to be very unique for the opportunities and challenges which do exist in India. And definitely you will get funded, you will have the opportunities to create impact. Yes.
Yes, thank you for that answer. And I think we should award the gentleman who's been asking those questions as the most attentive delegate of KTX Global Wave 2024. He clings on to each and every word that each and every speaker is saying. Hats off to you, sir. Any more questions?
Yeah.
Yes, there is one more question from the gentleman over there. Can we have a mic, please?
Hi.
Yeah.
So do you have any tips to find these problems that we can solve and create a software product?
I think a very interesting topic. I think it definitely comes through the experiences, the opportunities that you see out, right? I mean, I think the only way you could really look at it is by attending some of these conversations. That's why I said there are multiple groups where the groups like the Head Start, where every second Saturday there is a kind of pitch session happening across cities. It happens in Calicut also, it happens in Cochin and Trivandrum also. I think you will get to hear about some of the challenges and opportunities people are perceiving, right? Again, for India, I think, I'm sure that Dilip is also here, there is a huge unboxing of opportunities happens with ONDC, right? Open Network for Digital Commerce. Just plug into it. It's just a matter of it. The real potential of that platform is still not known to, just like the UPI for commerce, right? It's a huge opportunity which is out there. And again, as I mentioned, right, out of the 32 million in SMEs who are out there, almost 50% of them do not really have a digital solution available, right? Khata book or any kind of smaller ERP versions would definitely help them. And many industries, right? Many industries, pharma industries, the different Kirana stores that out there, right? They need a very simple mechanism to really count what's the inventory and things around that. How do you simplify that? So I think if you just look out, there are huge problem statement, huge opportunities out there. as I mentioned, get obsessed with the problem, not with the solution, right? We always get the solution very close to our heart, and then we will not be able to move out of that, right? As a startup, as an individual who would really like to build the solution, is get obsessed with the problem statement, not with the solution. Then you will find many opportunities out there.
Yes, so there are lots of opportunities out there. We just need to look at it. As he rightly said, like a lot of conversations are happening all across Kerala. ONDC, something that most of the people have not even heard about. So I think we can wrap up the questions.
One more small question,
Okay.
just on the other side of the product development. See, I'm a consumer of a startup product. So we purchased maybe 5 years back, and I thought, okay, this is a startup company, we should support them, and we bought the product. After some time, this startup company is failed to meet the even 30% of the requirement, and they failed and they vanished from the market. So this is basically, this many number of startups are there, and they have developed so many products, and the quality, if it is not coming to a like acceptable level, it becomes a challenge for us to select the product. I'm a buyer, so just is there any monitoring platform where I can go and see, okay, these are all matured solutions which I can use it and confidently go and buy it? You have any idea or any guidance on that side? Thank you.
Yeah, I think from a customer point of view, something that we kind of look at is there is a platform called Traction. I don't know how many of you know about it. It's a startup discovery platform, but the moment you kind of put a specific startup or kind of specific offering, you get a related companies list who are offering similar sizes, right? I think that's a good opportunity that you have. Just look at, and then you can actually compare across features, things which are available, what are the extensibility options available, right? I think that's something that definitely you can explore. And yeah, that's only way I would see this happening. Otherwise, you have to really look at deep diving some of these solutions and building it, right? And again, from a larger point of view, I think all of us need to understand there are some of the battles that you cannot win in a large scale, right? For example, SAP been there for the last 50 years, very solid platform. The number of business processes are very, very huge, right? You don't need to reinvent the purchase order process. You don't need to reinvent the goods receive materials management options, right? But the unique thing is that how do we actually kind of reimagine some of these processes, right? Some of the things I would say, the working capital management. I came across a startup where kind of look at the invoices, the pending invoices, and kind of rebalance that invoices, do a discount. If the invoice is for, pending invoice is for 90 days, they take these invoices, rebalance it, refinance it with someone else, because we will very sure know that the company A will pay to company B after 60 days, right? In that short period of time, the company may need some kind of a funding, right? They can submit these invoices and get some kind of a capital for working capital requirement. So there are huge opportunities out there. The opportunities, probably you need to really get into some of these businesses and really understand how the system works and where are these intersections. There are huge intersections across business process, and those intersections you can really build solutions. So in short, you don't have to build a full stack. That's exactly I was telling. A lot of these startups get into this mode where I literally need to build a full stack. No, you don't have to. Just look at the intersection of business processes. You will see some optimization opportunities that you can create and build on there.
Yes. Thank you for that answer.